This episode absolutely messed me up. I mean, the whole death flags have been there for a while for Chisato, but to see literally her life flash before her eyes, she was not joking, a moment away from having her brain splattered. That's not an exaggeration. She 100% was that close to death. And to see her for the first time, hell, not only for the viewers, which we've only known her now for 6 episodes, the characters surrounding her were absolutely shocked that she was injured, that she got to that point. Because just to see how real this show goes about its combat, despite, maybe some almost superhuman level activity from how Chisato moves around or how she reads movements. I mean, the way from characters hold their guns to the way they fight with their guns. Hell, just the simple idea that simply blinding someone who's as skilled as her with his own blood is enough to go from her wiping the floor against a bunch of goons to literally being on her knees moments away from not being able to save her own life. To see just so much be revealed in an episode that I was convinced was the setup episode, the slice of life episode, the episode that the Yuri bait just really goes full throttle as we have Takina, Chisato moving in together. It's adorable, it's a little flustering, Who would have thought that in an episode that, yes, has like a target painted on her head, it would end up by episode 6, halfway through this season, with a moment away from her dying. If there is a guaranteed death at the end of this season, I will be fully shocked because it feels like it's impossible now that the big bad of the season, at this point, I kind of feel like this man has to be the big bad in terms of the main opponent they'll face. Yes, there's the man who gave her the amulet, who kind of seems to be like the puppet master, but in terms of the main person we're fighting, it almost feels like this green-haired bastard is just, he's the perfect villain you love to hate. The voice actor does a hell of a good job, and just, he's a beast, man. The dude literally is standing next to a goddamn car that got exploded by a rocket launcher, and he goes to work the next day. Not too many people can say that. At first, I kind of thought he was going to be like a random one-and-done villain, but I'm kind of glad that he's actually seemingly the main threat that Chisato might have to go up against, because after getting his ass handed to him by her, he turned the tides and almost killed her. Like, that's the type of force you don't see in a show like this all too much, but they're doing a great job making him a foe you love to hate. Of course, you're wishing for his downfall, but the longer they keep him around, the more the threat of death is there. And for a show where you have a girl who is so skilled that you think nothing can stop her, the fact that by the midway point we show she isn't invincible and, her carefree attitude isn't enough to save her all the time, like, that's pretty worrying. They did a hell of a good job with the brutality of that. I love the fact that they kind of teased what to expect if this ever was to happen to our characters. The whole idea of almost like the hit and run, you get hit by the car, they all come out, they gang up on you, and they fire away. We just see what happens if one of these agents are able to flee the scene. It then kind of goes into, flashbacks of Negan in The Walking Dead when you first meet him. That's kind of how it felt in terms of the directing, with the lights surrounding them and just one person standing above the other. And shit's about to get real. But I mean, this episode, it does reveal a lot of information I wasn't really expecting to learn more about. I mean, even though Takina and just the whole idea of like, yes, her behavior is ultimately what caused her demotion and kind of like expulsion. But there's definitely some idea of like something that couldn't happen in the middle of a battle did. And now we see our lovable hacker was actually behind it. And I think what this serves as a good purpose for is the fact that it shows the massive level of growth that Chisato has had applied on Takina. Takina is a completely different person. I mean, the fact that she almost immediately forgave, blamed herself rather than someone else for what happened, because she did have, teamwork issues, all things considered. It's not that she was a horrible agent or anything. There's a lot to be putting the blame on this agency. But ultimately, like, she did have an attitude problem that Chisato has really helped craft, and she's opened up because of it. But I love the fact that they're not just going the route of saying, hey, these characters are flawless. This master hacker who can do anything, she takes jobs that could end up harming the people she's now working for. Takina, who used to just say, like, it doesn't matter, I'm gonna shoot whatever as long as X person's okay, not valuing that someone might be inside that briefcase that she may be using as cover, right? There's all these different character growths, and for an episode that's pushing it to the point of, like, teamwork is the only way these characters will survive, I think this is the perfect moment to kind of lay everyone's cards on the table and really show us playtime is over. Whatever we've seen up to this point, it's over, and things are about to get a lot more spicy. Her identity is fully out there. Someone who almost killed her knows who that is, there's a lot of uncertainty going forward. And I mean, if we don't get more cute date time like moments with these two girls, I mean, how the hell are you not supposed to be antsy every moment watching an episode of Recoil? But damn, man. Like, the simpler moments in this episode were so good. I love the fact that they end this episode with the rock, paper, scissors with Takana actually ending up winning. Her voice actress did something that I rarely hear, but it is the most genuine squeak I think I've ever heard. Or at the very least, one of the most genuine, like, the way she performed a line that I've heard this year. Because she literally lost like dozens of times in a row, so she had to do all the housework, all the cleaning, all the other stuff. And at the end, after getting kind of taught like the way she was constantly tying or winning, she ends up winning. And her squeak, the way she was just like, that's like a 6-year-old girl who just got ice cream for dinner. Like, just the pure joy that radiated off her, from the way she looked to the way she sounded. Those are the little finer details that make this show pop, man. And I love seeing these two bond, especially after such a heavy ending of the episode, all things considered. It's kind of interesting because initially when the people were breaking into her apartment, I was thinking to myself, man, for someone who could easily be hunted at any possible moment, she has a real shitty lock system. Like, that's just a generic apartment lock. You would think she'd have like some giant bolts going across, like mechanical systems, but it makes sense that that's just the generic apartment. Her actual place, which is like a bunker cellar that looks beautiful once you get into it, is obviously a lot more secure. That's just where she kicks ass and takes names and orders more windows as she tosses fools out. It's really cool to see how they're just going about presenting this world, which in a lot of ways seems pretty normal, but then when you see the cover-ups and everything going on, it's absolutely brutal. And I love the fact that, man, this hacker, he's came so close to being killed at so many moments, but in a single episode, this man had more guns pointed to his head than I think any of the characters that we've seen up to this point have. This dude is just moments away from being tossed into the ocean with a couple of bricks tied to his feet, and just the fact that at the end of the episode, thinking that he's probably about to get a shotgun pulled, this dude's like, get me more, because this dude almost feels like a battle junkie, similar to how Black Summoner this season that's airing. You know, just like something about him, just that thrill of someone who actually put up a fight to that degree. He wants to kill this woman no matter the cost, but ultimately, this is the worst person you want to have seeking that thrill. Both as like, he needs to kill her, but at the same time, there's now this thrill of the hunt that makes it all the more frightening. Like, seriously, every time you think you can't like this show more than you already do, it somehow finds a way to up the quality. This episode, for mostly being a kind of setup episode, them moving together, kind of getting an idea of where the antagonists want to go, big mission, need to take out the top dog who could easily foil us, and then to see how I thought there was going to be a cliffhanger, you know, like she gets hit by the car, gun is drawn, big cliffhanger leading into next week. But the fact that they boldly showed us her moments away from dying and then ending on such a positive note, this show is playing with emotions, man, and I love it for it. I hate it, but I love it for it. This show's quality, definitely one of the best of the season, and I'm excited, if not a little worried, to see where it goes from here. Thoughts down below, theories if you got any, let me know. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.